So like we could tell our kids till we're blue in the face, oh, you should sit and read your Bible. They're not going to do it. But the one time I'm sat out there reading my Bible, that's what they want to be doing. We should be living a life which exemplifies what we want them to learn and see and do and grow up to be. Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and a Bible.
Today is day 312, covering John 9 and 10.
Lovely. So John 9, this starts off with one of them like old school debates, basically, because he starts off and he sees a man who is blind from birth, which then this whole story around this guy is a massive section in here, which we'll keep chatting about. But it starts off with his disciples saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus' reply is, neither this man nor his parents sinned. This happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. The first thing out that is like, it's neither him nor his parents. It's sin and suffering do not go hand in hand. They're not linked. Like, I used to believe that if I sinned specifically with stuff like masturbation and I got a migraine, I got the migraine because of that reason.
Yeah.
And actually, of course, that's just a complete lie of the enemy. We were chatting yesterday how Satan is the father of lies. So the two are not linked. And then I heard a little mini preach, I think, from our old worship pastor, John Slater. Shout out to John. I told him I would. So, but John, the point he made from verse 3 is that Jesus has a different perspective, because the reason he's blind is so that God's glory can be sort of displayed. And
Right.
we see it through our own earthly vision, but God's vision, God's perspective is just so different to ours that sometimes we just need to take a step back, take a step up, and just trust God.
Yeah, love that, dude. That's good. So then we've both got 9-3, but I feel like you've sort of covered that pretty well, so we can skip down to yours. Confused me. You've got 9-11, 9-17, 9-33, and 9-37.
Yes. So this is the whole point of this same guy, right? This same guy. So Jesus goes on and heals this guy. And my whole point is it's the stages of acknowledging Jesus as Lord. And I had a note in here. This I picked out from the Bible in 1 year that we did, the Nicky Gumbel one.
Nice.
And it obviously just hit me enough then that I wrote it all down. Because first off, they're asking how this guy was healed, and he said, oh, the man they called Jesus. So first off, he calls him Jesus. Then later on there, they say, what do you have to say about him? And the man replied, he is a prophet. So he starts off, it was Jesus. Then it goes to, oh, he was a prophet. Then it goes on and they're still questioning him, because basically they're trying to work out whether Jesus healed on the Sabbath again. Side note, where it said previously, like all of these things that seem to be happening on the Sabbath, but that's because they're the controversial ones. Imagine if we just picked out 1 day a week of what Jesus did and we focused only what he did on at this stage. Saturday was the Sabbath. Actually, that's 1/7 of what he was actually doing. So when they say there are more things that he's done than would fit in all the books in the world, that's kind of what they mean.
Yeah.
But so he's gone from saying he's Jesus to he's a prophet. In verse 33, he says, if this man were not from God, he could do nothing. So he's starting to appreciate that this man must be from God. And then by verse 38, the man, after this, then Jesus went and spoke to him again face to face now that he could see. And Jesus is saying, you've seen him. In fact, he's the one speaking with you. Then the man said, Lord, I believe, and worshipped him. So he's gone from knowing he's someone called Jesus to thinking he's a prophet, to thinking he must be sent from God, to being like, you're God, Lord, I believe. And it's just cool to see that progression in his own words.
Yeah, that's good, dude. And that reminds me of like the 5 stages of grief, but way better. That's really cool. The 4 stages of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, John 9 verse 22. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders, who already had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. So if you get to the 4th stage of Jesus, so to speak, then you have this big problem, especially within the Jewish religion, right? So if you acknowledge Jesus as Messiah, then you're taken out of the synagogue. Yeah. And that's a huge deal. And this is still a problem today. So I just wanted to give a shout out to One for Israel Ministry, which is a YouTube channel as well. And they basically go around evangelizing in Israel, trying to show the Jewish people that Jesus was Messiah. So a lot of what they do is they go around with like Isaiah 53 and they ask which prophet or person they think is being described. And they're like, I don't know. Like, he seems like a really good person though. And then they're like, it's Jesus. And then a lot of them are like, oh, no, no, no. And they like run away. And then every now and then one's like, wow, really? Jesus is described in Isaiah? And it like starts a conversation.
Interesting. That's cool, man.
It is really cool. Really, really cool. So then I've also got 9:41. So Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. So it's a really important and interesting concept that non-believers who have never had access to the gospel are actually less guilty in Jesus' eyes than someone who's had access to the gospel, knows better from the scriptures and just ignores it. That makes sense to me, because I wasn't raised with the Bible or anything.
Yeah.
And once I became a Christian, I became so much more aware of my sins and why they mattered and stuff. That doesn't mean that it was okay for me to be living in sin the way I was, but I'm just saying it's like obviously a little bit, more understandable.
Exactly. Like we've kind of discussed that before. Our like late teen, early 20 years were pretty similar, but I had this knowledge that I was just ignoring, for want of a better term, like at least 6 days a week, whatever it was. And it's like actually that level of guilt on me was way heavier than you, because I was doing it in the full knowledge of who Jesus was. Right. You're doing it fairly naively or ignorantly, whatever you want to
completely ignorant.
Yeah. Go on, dude, you carry on with your next point. That was a good point, by the way. I liked it.
Dankeschön. So then Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. So, John 10:14. I'm not going to say that's quite a gospel in one verse, but it's pretty great little pithy thing.
Yeah.
And then my final one is just John 10:18. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. So I just wrote, this is just Jesus casually predicting his own death and resurrection. It's like, I'm laying it down, I'm picking it up, I have the authority from God. He's just like, I'm going to die and I'm going to come back. Like, it's just so cool. I was like, what are you on about? No, I'm good. I'm going to do this.
And the fact that it's not out of his control. He was fully in control of the whole thing. Like when they're antagonizing him and be like, go on and save yourself. He could have. But the overall aim of saving the world was a bigger sort of deal. So
100%, dude.
It's really cool. My final point was kind of in and around that same whole thing of the good shepherd and learning his voice, because he comes through the gate and so they learn the voice. It kind of is there to throw against the Pharisees. But what I love is, and it's kind of, it hit me the other day, and for the first time in I don't remember how long, the kids have actually started sleeping through again, which is just a dream. So I was up before the kids and I was doing some of my Bible readings, just early morning, just sitting in the kitchen, which I haven't done in ages, but I used to love doing. And I was just sitting reading my Bible, and Archie got out of bed and came wandering in. He's like, what are you doing, Daddy? He's like, I'm just reading the Bible. He went and used the bathroom. Then he went and got his Bible just to come and sit down and read the Bible and look at his pictures. And then a couple of minutes later, Kinsey had climbed down from, she woke up, so I just dumped her in bed with Melody so I could go and read the Bible. And she came in and she was like, Kin read Bible? Kin read Bible? So I went and got her tiny little, mostly pictures Bible and gave her that, and they just sat there. And it's like, the whole do as I say, not as I do is utter BS, because we should be living a life that our children and our friends and people around us can see what's happening and choose to do that for themselves. Like we could tell our kids till we're blue in the face, oh, you should sit and read your Bible. They're not going to do it. But the one time I'm sat out there reading my Bible, that's what they want to be doing. We should be living a life which exemplifies what we want them to learn and see and do and grow up to be.
That's good. And obviously that's exactly what Jesus did, right? He came and lived a perfect life so that we might know what that looks like and to be an example, because we are much more monkey see, monkey do than we are monkeys say what and you
monkey do. Learn, monkey.
Exactly. Yeah. Sweet. Good stuff.
So it was exactly that. And it was just really nice to sort of to see that and feel that, like, man, we should be worshiping in our house more, we should be praying more, like all that stuff. So it was fairly convicting really, but it was good.
Love that, dude.
Beauty. Tomorrow then we're into John 11 and 12, so why don't you beautiful people pick up that Bible of yours and get reading.
In the meantime, please consider joining us on social media at 2 Brits and aBible and sharing this with someone to help spread the word of God.